Sharon Combs. She is an experienced, passionate, and charismatic speaker. Since 2000, Sharon has been investing herself in the success of others, captivating them with humor and openness that promotes audience engagement.
It doesn't have to be a fight between me and you. We can focus on solutions. And how do we focus on solutions? We establish common ground.
The thing I want to say is if you are fortunate enough to reach Coach Shay and set some time up with her, you're going to be very lucky.
We have assumptions, so many, and you have to check your assumptions because your assumptions can be the very barrier or bottleneck to us being able to work effectively together.
You're going to realize your true growth potential as a leader as well. She actually presented it in a way it felt new.
Hey everyone, how you doing? This is Sharon Combs, and this is the Be the Clay Shifting and Transition podcast. This conversation actually deals with transition, deals with being in the part of becoming, moving from one space to another, whether that's spiritually, financially, mentally, physically, or emotionally. And this is the last Be the Clay of this year. And so it drops on Tuesday mornings, but tonight I was like, you know what? I'll put it on Facebook and Instagram tonight. I was looking over the past year and I just recognized that this year has given me such a margin for grace. I talk about margin moments, making sure you're creating space for things that matter and not just being caught in the hustle and bustle. And I know that that can be difficult to do if there's always something next to do. And you can spend time where you actually don't take time to just recharge, not only in self-care, but maybe margin to spend time with family members, margin to spend time with romantic partners, margin to just look at a sunset, and breathe. And so I just wanted to say this year's been full of change for a lot of people. My whole life is full of change, transitioning from one to the other. I'm a fan of Be the Clay for that reason. One season you may be a bowl, another season you may be a spoon. Some seasons you may just be a vase carrying, holding something, not even just carrying something, but holding something. But it's up to the potter of what he would have you to be. The makeup of you is still the same. The clay, your DNA, maybe even your primary call, but it may be carried out in different ways through different mediums. And so I just wanted to share that, some years like don't ask your permission. Sometimes change doesn't ask your permission. And for me, 2025 was like that. It didn't knock. It didn't explain itself. It just arrived. Actually, I don't even want to say 2025. 2025 was the transition part. Change happened in 2024. And it was a change that didn't explain itself, didn't ask for permission. And so the initial parts of 2025 for me was the transition, like looking at the pieces, having to look at the pieces and look at something that I thought was and realize that it wasn't. Having to deal with the anger, the uncertainty, the embarrassment when people would ask, well, hey, isn't that this? And you're like, well, yeah, but you still don't have an answer. And you can't clearly see anything that you've done with it. But God is sovereign. And sometimes we get comfortable in spaces. I have a friend of mine, she's going to lead this Bible study group, and she was talking about the land right outside of the promised land and how people got comfortable there. So to the fact that they didn't even want to go into the promised land because it was good enough where they were and definitely better than where they came from. So they kind of got comfortable. They didn't want to have to go and fight for something or fight the Indians fight the inhabitants for the promise. And so I really understand what she was saying. So kudos to my friend for sharing that with me. But anyway, here's the moral of the story. Like some years don't ask your permission, they don't. A lot of people in 2025, I think some maybe 400,000. I know African American women like lost jobs, like jobs that would shift income. It can impact communities and impact livelihoods for their family and their extended family. And like a lot of this change, it doesn't come gently. It didn't come gently. It wasn't predictable. You didn't see it coming. It, in my case, it certainly didn't come the way I would have chosen for it to come had I known. Again, being the clay, for those of you who are the clay, sometimes if you knew at the beginning, you'd be like, "Nah, I'm good." But on the other side, you're okay with it. You're happy with it. You can see where some things were necessary. So it didn't come gently. It didn't come predictably for me. It wasn't something I would have chosen. But as I sit here now, not January, not February, now in December, no longer like shoulders and face change straight to the future, learning the lessons. Whether I got all the lessons, only time will tell, but learning the lessons of what, you know, of some things that I didn't see or maybe I saw and ignored. But as I sit here now, I'm not angry, I'm not defensive, not even scrambling to prove anything. Not anymore. Just being me and in the fullness of who he has created me to be. I realized that something sacred did happen. It happened. This was the year that God in my life, he created margin. Remember I said that about the grace? I have more grace for people. I wouldn't even known that I didn't have the grace because I have grace for young people and people who were, disenfranchised, or maybe they came up or they had a harder than I thought they should have had existence. So there's always grace for that. But I didn't always have grace for people who I was just like, yeah, they know the rules. They kind of doing this or doing that. But this year has given me so much grace. And so what I went through created even more grace for me. He has given me grace for margin, which is space, margin between one place and another. Margin for you might be 15 minutes between one meeting and another meeting, but it is that space in between. It is room to move. And he's given me margin for that. And in giving me the margin, I love him. I love the Lord. I'm just talking to you guys, and I don't know if you've gone through changes yourself, but in giving me that grace for margin, He also created space for more. He created space for more. And it took some months. And I don't think it took Him months to tell me, it took me months to be able to hear. It took some months for me to be able to see and be like, oh, oh, that's what we're leaning into next. Oh, that's what you have for me next. Because he did and does have something, for us, for me, and for you. So maybe you've experienced some changes, relational changes. Maybe there's been a loss in your life. Maybe your job, has changed, shifted, or even altogether been removed. But he is creating space for more. And I feel like you know it. I don't know where you are in the journey, whether it's like, no, that shouldn't have happened, or that's not fair, or what will I do, or caught with worry. But there's an exhale coming. I've exhaled. So I know that if you haven't reached the exhale part yet, it's okay. There is an exhale coming for you. Um, because in that space for more, it doesn't mean you're going to have a bunch of more activity or you just filling stuff up, run and hurry up and get something to replace what he created space in. Let him fill those places. Let him fill them. That's the best way to yield and to transition and to be the clay, to let the potter shape you, shape your season, shape what you're doing, not just continue to be like, I have to do it myself. I have to build it myself. I'm not married, but I feel like I've entered what the people call a soft girl era. I feel like I've entered into a soft girl era. I do. Where I'm listening. I'm listening for instruction. I'm listening for the leader. And I'm not trying to fill all the spaces. And it doesn't have to make sense to all the people. And so I want you to know that that's part of the space for more. The space for more. Not more activity, not more validation, not more noise, but more truth. More truth, more veracity, more courage, more clarity, more me, without apology and without needing approval at all. So if you're listening and this year has changed you in ways you did not ask for, I had to write that line down. If you're listening and this year your lane has changed in ways that you did not ask for, this episode is for you. We're going to talk a little bit about what it means to make room for grace and to prepare for more. To prepare for more. Even Even the what you may feel like are atrocities are still preparation. If you've run with footmen and they wearied you, how will you handle horses? I believe this episode will speak to you deeply. It's speaking to me. I'm just talking. This episode will have like 5 points and some sub points for you, but it also, again, this is me sharing my heart over this year of 2025. I do my best to be warm, to be honest, to be to maybe share some wisdom that comes from above and from letting God shape you through real life, real time, real life, real time, real time, real life. And yeah. Now, as we're getting started, if you're listening, will you let me know? Drop a comment. What has been one of the more difficult yieldings that you've had to do in the year of 2025, in the calendar year of 2025? Not just one of the most difficult changes, you can put that there too, but one of the most difficult yieldings where you had to let go of something of what you thought it would be. You know, you had to actually let go and let things be exactly what they were. See, look, I didn't even mean to do it, but my hands are up. That's the surrender right there. Y'all see it? That is the surrender. So if you will put in the comment, what is one of the yieldings that you really had to kind of rock with and go through. So here we go. Change, guys. Change is always happening. It doesn't ask for permission and it is uncomfortable. It doesn't check your calendar, your capacity, or ask for your consent. It just comes. And in 2025, for a lot of people, it just came. Now, here's one of the things, since change isn't going to schedule a meeting or send you a warning email or wait till you feel ready, change is going to expose some things. It's going to expose what was working on borrowed strength. You know, look at it. Were you tapped out? Were you always exhausted? Were you working in your sleep? What does that mean, Sharon? It means you're dreaming, and in your dream, you're still typing an email or thinking about an email. Like, it's exposing what's working on borrowed strength, meaning something is taking more of you than it was supposed to take from you. And that could be systems, that could be relationship roles that only function because you overextended yourself. Because you overextended yourself. See, I want to get so deep on things, but I'm trying to just, I can't make it. I'm sharing about me, but it can't be all about me because this is a change that many go through. So change is going to expose areas where you have overextended yourself. It's going to reveal the cracks, not cause the cracks, but reveal the cracks. And maybe we have gotten so used to stepping over the crack. You know what I'm saying? Step on the crack, breaking my back, that type of thing. But we've gotten so used to the cracked pavement or the cracked walls or whatever that we're used to working within that stuff. And so change is exposing those things that we maybe have gotten comfortable or learned how to navigate working in. So change isn't cruel, but it is indifferent to your comfort. Change is not concerned with your comfort. It's not. It's not, man. I'm so sorry. I know there are people who are going to hear this and going to be like, man, that is me. That is me. It's a lot going on. And you want somebody to explain why it's so uncomfortable to you, but change is indifferent to your comfort level. It's gonna, for me, it exposed things that I thought were solid. It exposed areas and places that I thought were safe. It revealed relationships that I thought were safe and weren't. It disrupted rhythms that I thought were permanent. You know, it moved me from places I probably would have never left from. And here's the hard truth: most people say they fear change, but they don't fear change. They fear what the change is going to cost us, which could be our comfort, our security, maybe what we believe to be status. If your identity is in something that you do, and not who you are or whose you are, you know, you could lose that. These are things that happen. And if you're in a visible position, it happens visibly. Now, I'm not, I don't have the visibility of a Puffy Combs or of a, or something like that, but still I have visibility. And so change came and there was visibility. And, people call and ask, and some people out of sincere concern, some people just out of nosiness, some people want the tea. A lot of people like drinking tea. And so change will expose a lot of that and it will cost some things. And so I want you to know discomfort is not always dysfunction. That's a bar message. Discomfort is not always dysfunction. It is just a process that you're going through. Feeling unsettled because something is new, it doesn't mean that you're failing. And it didn't mean that I was failing. It mean that exposure came and that season ended. I didn't want it to end, but it did end. That season ended. It meant something old was interrupted so something truer could emerge. And now it's like more me. It's more me. I'm not saying that wasn't me, but there's a you that's contorting and conforming and really working hard to make sure others are this, even the people, even relationships that were severed in my life, those people are working hard trying to make sure something for somebody else. And so it's crazy. I remember one day I was driving to visit a friend in Oklahoma. I was going to stay up there for a few days, and it was in the midst of the chaos where some of you may be now. And I was like, but the time of day I was driving, I wouldn't have been able to do that if I was still in that old space. And I was like, man, am I fighting against the very, like, is the Lord delivering me into something else? Like stripping me, yes, but delivering me into the new season of things I've been asking for, nomad, being able to work on my own time and work from different places. Is he delivering me into that? And I'm so busy based off of how it went down that I'm not seeing that he's delivering me into something that I actually asked for, you know? And so change is not, again, guys, discomfort does not mean dysfunction. It could be disruption with purpose. 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 And I'm big on purpose. Think on purpose, things like that. And so when God is requiring you to grow urgently, it's a lot of rapid changing going on, not just in America, but just globally. And if he's requiring you to do something rapidly, like growth is required urgently or rapidly, then change is not going to come gentle. For a lot of people, this year wasn't soft. I'm hitting my soft girl era now, but this year was not soft. It was not soft. And that could be because softness will keep you stuck. Softness can keep some of us stuck. The number two part of that. So change doesn't, it's always happening and it doesn't ask for permission, guys, to be clear. Number two, time for acceptance. John Maxwell talks about time for acceptance. And for a lot of people, especially myself and how I was raised, and there may be other women, I typically speak on women. This may fit for some men too. I don't know. So charge my head, not my heart. You know, charge my head, not my heart, because with time for acceptance, normally that means somebody tells you something and you have an opportunity to kind of get comfortable with something. However, if you are an entrepreneur, a business owner, somebody who works and is used to just taking care of stuff, and you got to power through, a lot of people, a lot of women with melanin, like they're powering through. It's just a power through time. That's it. They don't have time to be like, oh, time for acceptance. This is what happened. This is how we have to move. So with powering through, that actually costs you. It costs people health. All right. Let me get this. Y'all can get this work right here. All right. Powering through. Pushing through works. I've done it. I've done it. I've done it. I've done it for years. And it works until it doesn't. It does not always work. And when you're powering through like that, it is a short-term fix and it has long-term repercussions. It hits our bodies, it hits our relationships, it hits our ability to think cognitively. There's brain fog. It hits our ability, like somebody who has like such a sweet and innocent and want to save the world and want to really give to everybody, like the heart can then become all cruel and deformed and embittered because you're powering through and you're not having the time to regenerate, to grow, to breathe, and to process things. You're just powering through. And for a long time, I believe that was strength. Strength meant pushing through. Let's get it. Let's get it. Let's get it. Let's get it. All work. Let's get that dime. Let's get that dollar. Let's work the next achievement. Let's go to the next place. And um, definitely 20 years ago, I actually equated achievement with my value. That's a worldly component, y'all. I like being able to achieve things. Don't get me wrong. I like being able to see growth and see growth in my clients and see growth in people, see other people write books and do this. I love being a part of my ecosystem, which is the ecosystem that echoes, speak, lead, transform, repeat. That's it, echo. The same thing. I love all of that. But for a long time, I really thought just keep going. I was fed, keep chopping wood, just keep swimming. This year, the Lord was really like, no rest. I was like, but I can go do that. Rest. Hey, we want you to come do this. I want to go do it too. I want to go get the money. He's like, don't go. Ah! He like, don't go. I'm like, but I want to go. I need to go. I got to make up this. I got to make up the loss. He's like, you don't have to make up the loss. That's you again trying to do you. And so you want time for acceptance. It is not always time to just push through and power through and keep smiling and keep proving. It's okay to say, hey, you know what? I don't have the capacity for that. Or that's not a reciprocal relationship. So no, that's not, if the Lord's not telling me to do it, I'm not doing it. One of my sisters used to tell me all the time, like, don't pour your money into sand, like don't build on sand. And so the Lord began to show me some of those things relationally, like, vanity likes, different things like that. Like that's not really producing anything. And so 2025 taught me something gentle and something far more sustainable than powering through. And so people, we all know how to survive, but we don't recognize that we can be in survival mode long after we're not under threat. I want to say that again. Many of us are still operating in survival mode and we're not under threat. We're under coverage, we're under adoption, we're under the spirit of sonship, but we're not under threat, but we're still working like it's survival mode, strong, capable, dependable, but also quietly depleted, drained, empty, just, you know what I'm saying, going off of fumes. And so when you're powering through, you also accepting, and acceptance is not agreement, and it's definitely not alignment. Okay. Um, Accepting what is, when I just was like, okay, my hands are up, I let go, and I began to accept what really was. And this is crazy, y'all. I have taught this for years, but when I was in it, I didn't see it this time. But God is good. I've taught this for years. Like when you're going through the stages of transition and you go through this like frustration and honeymoon and the frustration, and you get down here to this part that's like crisis. And when you're in crisis, you're in crisis because it's all you can talk about. You can be at the grocery store, you could be at church, you could be at the movies, you could be whatever in any conversation, and it comes up. Guys, I was in crisis. Definitely quarter 1, I was full on crisis. It just kept coming up because I didn't understand. But then you hit a point when the only way you come out of crisis is you let go. You have to let go of what you thought was. Let go of what you believe should make sense to you. Let go of your ideal of how it should have come through. What somebody may have promised that didn't promise when they hired you, or when they brought you into the company, or when they proposed to you and asked you to marry them. Okay, we're not, the honeymoon look different than this. The high parts look a little different than the low. And the only way to come out of that crisis is to let go. Let go of what you thought something was. Stop wasting time fighting something that has already happened. You just have to accept it. And when you accept it, you look around. This is an awesome part in the time for acceptance. When you accept it, you look around and you quit thinking about what you lost or what was removed, or even who did what, whether it was done in integrity or anything like that. You quit thinking about all of that, and you just put your hands up. You stop fighting what already happened, and you begin to look and see what you have, what you have, what you have done. What can you build on? Who do you have? You know what's here. And for me, I was like, hey, I'm okay. Like, I'm okay. And so then you have to process the pain. In time for acceptance, you do have to process pain. I know I'm talking slow. I know this is me just sharing, but I am sharing this because I know these parts, whether one or many, will help those of you who are listening, those of you who have gone through, those of you who have lost jobs. Again, I already know over 300,000 people who look like me, women, lost jobs. So there's a lot of people out there who went through some loss. Farmers lost farms. Some got bailed out, some didn't. It's a lot of people who went through some change. And in this time for acceptance, you must process the pain. I'm not saying you have to get closure in different relationships, but you have to process the pain of what you carry. I heard Pastor Mike, some of you guys know, like Mike Jr., he was talking about bitterness, and he was saying that bitterness isn't what was done to you. It ain't even how you responded initially to what was done to you. It's what you chose to keep about what was done. You know, if maybe you didn't like how it went down, and so you keep that. Like you got to let all that go. Powering through delays the reckoning, but it never cancels it. So you have to let go of the stuff. You have to process the pain and let go of it. To be honest, you have to, dude. You got to be real and be like, man, that hurt. That hurt. That's betrayal. Like somebody or something or some entity or some structure or something you believe was more permanent or more sturdy or more solid than it was, and your belief was off in it, and it hurts. It hurts. And you have to process that pain. You can't blame nobody about the pain, because even if you blame, it doesn't change the pain. And if you blame, you still stay stuck with it. You're still giving your power outside of you. So you have to process that part and be like, man, that hurt. That hurt. I mean, I guess betrayal wouldn't hurt if it wasn't betrayal. Like deception would be deception if you wasn't deceived. Amy Turpinning. But yeah, you want to process the pain, because unprocessed pain is like an invoice that you haven't paid, and it's just sitting there waiting on you, getting interest, and you're like, well, no, I don't want to. You know, maybe there's a part of you that's like, no, I do want to hold on to it. You know what I'm saying? They owe me, they owe this, they owe that. They don't owe you nothing. Again, this is Be the Clay. Somebody who loves you is gonna be like, yeah, they do owe you an apology. But I subscribe to biblical principles, and as much as an apology may help some or not help some, says people don't owe you nothing but to love you. Our culture tells you that they owe you an apology, but would you be stuck waiting on one? Or maybe you owe an apology because maybe you thought of them in a way that they have never asked you to think. And so you've projected something onto them. The point is, you got to process the pain and let it go, because if not, it's going to keep taxing you. It's not taxing anybody else, it's taxing you. All right. And you guys know I do leadership, and with leadership, the more you talk about traits, even if something was wrong done to you, but if you're the only one carrying that story, then people begin to associate the negative traits with you. You know, like you're like Pigpen from Charlie Brown coming in with a bunch of dust around you. So, all right. So, powering through works until it doesn't. Unprocessed pain will become bitterness, and bitterness gets on everything. It slimes everything, things that you touch. So, amazing opportunities and new relationships. You are stained by bitterness, and now you're sliming things that are trying to get with you. You're oiling things that were clean. You begin to make them dirty. And so, please process the pain. Unhealed disappointment becomes armor, and you think you're protecting yourself from something. No, you're carrying unhealed disappointment. Get healed. Give the hurt to the Lord. Be like, Father, please take this. I feel some type of way. Take this. I don't want this. I don't want this. One of the things I think the enemy loves to do is to make people, like, cause them to lose their innocence or lose their faith, even faith in people. You know, faith in the possibility of something good happen, faith in the fact that you can have people that go with you through thick and thin, all of those things. And so you end up becoming like real cynical, real bitter, like super shady, like you talk about people all the time in a negative format. It's nasty work, I tell you. It's nasty work. And so that's time for acceptance. Acceptance does not mean you agree with what happened, but acceptance is honesty. It means saying, hey, this happened, this hurt, this changed me, and I don't need to minimize it to move forward. And other people may want you to move forward faster than you're able to. Process your pain so that when you move forward, you're not powering through. You are healed, and you're able to speak from your healing, not from your hurt. I want to say it again. You're able to give wisdom and share from your healing, not just from your hurt. And so, again, acceptance gave me permission to stop fighting stuff that had already occurred, and start yielding. Start yielding to what was being formed. So if you're listening and you're exhausted, it may not be because you're doing too little. It may be because you've refused to accept what has already happened, what has already came, what has already shifted. And grace Remember, I said grace for margin, space for more. Grace comes the moment we stop pretending or stop being performative or stop acting like, no, it's good, we good, we good. No, man. People will be like, hey, are you coming? No, no, I'm not coming. I don't have capacity for that right now. You know what I'm saying? I'm bleeding out. I don't have capacity for that right now. And so, but it comes the moment we stop pretending. You don't owe it to anybody to make, how do I say this in a good way? When you're healing and you're going through your healing process, you don't owe it to anybody, and don't spend time trying to prove to somebody that something doesn't hurt. You can if you want, but for what? For what? You know? Use that time to heal. Use that time to heal. Which also brings me to number 3, which is dying to self. But before we get into the dying to self, I want us to take just a little moment and I want to share some information with you.
Do you want greater success and satisfaction in your career? Do you have ideas that you desire to contribute? Then it's time to invest in you. Imagine you building and managing a high-performance team, managing conflict and difficult conversations, understanding financial management and budgeting, creating and implementing strategic plans, building and maintaining relationships with stakeholders. Our programs are designed and tailored for individuals seeking to grow and succeed in their leadership roles. UCDI's Change the Narrative Progressive Leadership is a mid-level leadership program designed specifically to develop the skills and knowledge necessary to take on greater leadership responsibilities in a sustainably scalable format. So, if you're tired of seeing ineffective processes, unhealthy work distribution, lack of follow-through and accountability, and you want to be an answer for yourself and for your team, then this is the program for you. Contact UCDI Leadership at info@ucdileadership.com or text LEADERSHIP to 214-717-5921. The future depends on many things, but mostly it depends on you.
All right, guys, I'm back. Hey, Apostle Sally, how you doing? Thank you so much for joining. Sandy, I believe you're on too. Thank you so much for joining. You guys are on different platforms, but I appreciate you guys being with me this evening. Number 3, during this season of change. Again, I'm talking about 2025. This is our year end, Be the Clay. And I'm showing it and sharing it on Instagram and on Facebook, just because this may be helpful with someone. It'll be off of Facebook tomorrow. It may still be on Instagram for a couple of days, but because it actually drops wherever where podcasts are on Apple, Spotify, iHeartRadio, and those places. So I won't leave them on here because obviously I want people to download them from the podcast places. That's the best place for it. And that allows me to optimize the podcast in a way that, not only helps, but yields revenue as well. So number 3, as far as the changes of this year, change doesn't ask for permission. Remember, right? Also, you have to have time for acceptance. Number 3, dying to self. Now I have some notes here, but I may get off of the notes and just go with the flow. You know what I'm saying? Dying to self. This is yielding, letting go, and exhaling. Remember, I said you got to breathe and you got to exhale. Dying to self. This was the quietest transformation of the year, but it was the loudest and the most profound, because the world we live in will say, yeah, you know what? It's time out for grace for people doing this. Y'all see me with it's time out for this, and it's team me, and I'm doing all this. But oh my God, in being the clay, even though you may not have done something wrong corporately or according to the natural systems or structures, let me tell you, if you are not in alignment with what the Most High has called you to do, I understand that the calling, giftings and callings are without repentance. Many people are called, but few people are chosen. And in this season, there's the call and there's the chosen. Like he's giving the invitation, like, hey, and people are like, yes, I want to go, Lord. You can have my yes, but that yes is gonna cost. It's gonna cost. It costs your comfort. I'm not talking about salvation and Father, will you live in my heart and take me to heaven? I'm talking about living for him here. And so you can be doing something in the natural that nobody else thinks is wrong, but it is not right with him. And so he's going to turn up some stuff. You know what I'm saying? It's going to be like, oh, he purging you. You didn't even know he was finna give you a shower and start scraping stuff off. He's going to turn up the fire. and he gonna start burning stuff, and only what's of him begins to remain. And when that happens, you begin to realize I am connected and linked and aligned with some stuff that has is past this season. It is allowing me to do things that he is not even with. You may be lukewarm, but you don't even know you lukewarm because you hotter than everybody else around you. Bars. Oh my God, the transparency is coming out. Y'all getting this work today. So dying to self is not always dramatic. It's not loud and it's not announced. Because when you are dying to self, you are dying to what he stuff that he has to do with his call with you. So I'm gonna say drinking, but drinking, I'm not gonna listen. I ain't nobody convicting nobody. I'm not trying to convict anybody for drinking. I'm using this just for the purposes of this. So you know what? As a matter of fact, I'm not even gonna take it on drinking because I don't want a religious spirit to miss the message. It could be certain movies. It could be certain things that you're not supposed to watch, or things on social media that you're not even supposed to scroll by. But the people around you, no one else is convicted about that because he maybe hasn't said anything to him about it. But you have to die to it because it may be giving you some type of comfort. And for people who love AI, I love AI too, but AI is not designed to take the place. AI is not most high. It is not designed to take the place. And so when you're dying to self, you have to die to things that you may actually want. No, no, no. He don't have a problem with that. But it may be problematic for you. It may not be problematic for somebody else, you know? And so dying to self means you have to yield, you have to let go. You have to let go. Remember, I said that about apologies. Don't nobody owe you nothing. Don't nobody owe you nothing but to love you. And you have to let it go. That's dying to self. That's dying to self, not being able to tell that story and continuing to rehearse or take that story in every room, you have to die to self. You have to die to self when somebody says something it ain't true, and you just be like, ooh, you want to defend yourself. You have to die to self. Hey, years ago, I always wanted my leg back. I'd be like, ooh, Lord, I want my leg back. But that's dying to self too, and really over time you begin to not want your leg back because, especially if you care about people, you don't want to see people you care about get hurt. It ain't gonna take away your hurt. And you like, well, I'm matching energy. Okay, well, that's something different. That's something different. I don't know what chapter and verse that's in the book about matching energy. I don't. I don't. And so when you're dying to self, it means you're not correcting. Let me say it corporately. You're not trying to correct the narrative. You're not defending your name. You're not chasing closure from people who lack the capacity to give it. You're not doing any of that. You are dying to self and you're exhaling. It's yielding. It's giving up this need to be understood by everybody. Jesus. It's giving it up to be understood by everybody. It's giving up this things that says, I must be vindicated. It's literally turning your shoulders and your head and moving on to the next thing and leaving things just as they were. You think it's between you and them. No, it's between you and God, and maybe between them and God if they have a relationship with it. But it's no longer between you and them. Move. You have to die to self. And when you do that, when you actually die to self, as much as you don't want to do it, like I can almost feel, I just tell people, feel like clumps of flesh just falling off of your body. As much as you don't want to do it, it feels so uncomfortable doing it because you're like, no, it's not right. It's not right. But it is right. And it's righteous. And this is what we have to decide where we are with this. This is why it's called Be the Clay. It releases this compulsion to explain yourself in the rooms that no longer deserve, they don't even deserve access. Don't deserve access. Not about them, but about you. Like, cut it off. It's okay. Don't cut it off to be spiteful. Cut it off because that season is over. And maybe y'all will connect again, circling up somewhere in the future. Who knows? But don't even try to make that happen. Don't try to make it happen. Don't try to not make it happen. And so that actually began to give me peace. When I began to die to self and I let go of it's not right. It's not right. I literally had to call someone who um I esteem highly. I had to call him and say, hey, look, what do you do with this? what do you do with this when you still feel this way? What do you do with this? And they're like, you got to speak to it. You got to tell it to go. You got to let it go. And when I did, when I tell y'all, it was like lighter, like no problems being in rooms with individuals. When there was shared spaces, none of that. It was gone because when I died to self, I gave it to the Lord for real. I didn't just tell the Lord, I gave it. My hands are up. This hand up thing, y'all see it. My hands are up, my hands are open. I gave it. And when I gave it, I didn't have to carry it no more. Y'all ain't ready for the truth. I didn't have to carry it no more. So when you're dying to self, you are yielding control without losing conviction. I learned the difference between surrender, like surrendering outcomes, and I abandoned any narrative I thought should happen. And it was great because I was able to exhale and let go of roles that I had grown loyal to and stayed loyal to. But some identities expired long before I released them. But I was able to do that. And so, yay, yay, yay. That's it. Number 4, rebirth. Rebirth is where you're ready, even when you're waiting. All right. You're ready, even when you're waiting. So now you're dealing with the finishing touches. And I want to let you know, guys, that waiting, a lot of people don't realize, but the wait and what we're doing in the wait often is equal to or more important than the run. You're like, I'm ready to go, I'm ready to go, I'm ready to go. But in the wait, something is still being formed in you, fashioned in you, growing in you, strengthened in you. So it's not like a rush when you're waiting. You're becoming ripe. I don't know why I said ripe, maybe like a banana, but it's like you're becoming ripe. Your season is becoming like it's better. It's getting better within you. And and you're being prepared. So you don't have to be impatient. It's like initially when something happened, I was in a rush to put something in it. And maybe some of you who are going through changes, you're like, okay, well, that's ending. Well, what's next? What's next may be the wait. It may be the wait, the time, the adjusting, the getting acclimated to the new thing, and the stillness. You're being formed. It's formative, not performative, but formative. It's not frustrating. It's teaching you to listen, to discern, to choose wisely, not quickly. You realize ain't too much that outside of the Lord being in a hurry and say, move now. There's not too many things. People shouldn't be able to really put you in a hurry like that. That's pressure. It could even be manipulation. And so rebirth begins with posture, not permission. So now my hands aren't like this anymore. Now they're like this. And things are being placed in them. And I can see them. And it's amazing. It's amazing. It's amazing. I'm gonna get off of that, y'all, but it is amazing because all of that chaos and confusion and what about and how's this gonna look and what will I do and what about bills to pay? You realize that even in the waiting, it's not so much, things aren't always about money. Some things are about trust, but you don't know that if you're not yielded in the waiting. So I'm like, well, I gotta get these dimes. I gotta get these dimes. No, I gotta get this trust and I gotta get this stillness and I got to get this understanding and I got to get this study and I got to get this authority that has already been given to me and the ability to yield it in the entrepreneur area, with the faith-based entrepreneurship. I got to get these things. And so I'm ready for the new. I'm ready for the new even as I'm waiting. And it's not always exciting. Like I'm excited now, but it's not always exciting. Sometimes it's like stillness. You know what I got this year also? The gifts, God gave gifts to men and the gifts were men. So in some of my gift package, I am part of that gift, that thing to equip. In this case, it's going to be something with faith-based entrepreneurs, not only, but along those lines. But just him sharing with me one day, like, you're a gift. And gifts don't get to decide where they go. Let me look at the screen for a little bit. I want to be sure y'all see my face when I say that. You're a gift. And gifts do not get to decide who they are given to. But I thought I did, you know. I was like, no, I'm not doing this. I'll do this. Oh, I don't want to do this. Okay, well, I don't really want to move over there. And it was just, I was making my own decisions. Now I asked the Lord to bless them and I did the best I could as far as giving it out to other people. But when you're a gift, you really don't get to decide who you're giving to. And it doesn't mean that people will treat you as a gift. because you're a gift that is given by him to somebody else. So work your thing, work that season, and when that season is over, be ready to move. Be ready to move, y'all. Real talk. Real talk, real talk. Okay, so that was all I have to say really about the rebirth. Rebirth is about posture. It's about posture. It's not always about movement. You may end up being still. Um, it's like waiting with awareness. You hear me say often about awareness drives behavior. Rebirth is waiting with awareness, period. It's like having a settled spirit and you're not rushing into what's next. You don't know what it is, but you're not afraid of it either. You know, I'm ready, even if I'm not rushing. And again, waiting doesn't mean nothing's happening. Just like with carrots and icebergs, just because you see something, it may be something underneath the ground that has roots deepening and getting deeper and deeper and deeper, and you can't see what's being worked, but it doesn't mean it's not being worked. All right, so that's number 4. Um, Number 5. So we just talked about the rebirth. Number 5 is like the new rooms. Guys, you don't need validations from systems that couldn't contain you, okay? You were there, that was it. That was that season. That was that relationship. That was that endeavor. Uh, Whatever it is. I don't care if it was just an exercise program. That was that. Now I want to talk to you about new rooms and then we're going to go. Um, New rooms for 2025. And so there'll be many of you who will experience this in 2026 because you just went through your change. But new rooms are coming. And so with the new rooms, you have a focus. I turn my shoulder, then I turn my head, then I turn my gaze. I stop looking at what was and what happened and trying to understand and rationalize. Like I'm fully turned now. I'm fully turned. I don't need anything from this season. I don't. I thought I did then, but I didn't. That's just the part of you that has to die to self. But now I'm turned and I'm like, all right, let's go. We're moving, we're rolling, we're going. The focus is on what's next. The focus is on purpose. What assignment is next toward purpose, toward serving, toward helping people? And so I focus on what's next. And then all of a sudden, I'm in these new rooms, new relationships, new networks. Where did these people come from? I love it, Lord. Thank you so much. But if I would have been stuck somewhere else and demanding what I'm demanding there, shooting, still in that frame, you miss what's coming. You miss what is right there. You miss the invitation into the next and into the new, you know, which could be the bridge that strangely may lead back to something that you thought was over. You don't know because you've died to self. So focus on the new rooms and the new you. New rooms, new you. Mm, you're going to be able to see it and feel it undeniably, firmly. You're going to have this boldness without a bravado. Because I can get hype and everything, especially when I'm like, ooh, this the Lord, Lord, Lord. But I want you guys to know it's like a boldness without bravado. It's a boldness though. It's a quiet acceptance of your strength and and your abilities and your God-given abilities, what you do naturally, and now his super comes with it. It's confidence without being arrogant. I tell people often, I've shared this, and people say, what is humility to you? Humility to me is being all that the Lord created me to be without forcing or wanting somebody else to be less than who he has created them to be. It's being the fullness of who he has created you to be, not full of yourself, full of him. It's peace without permission, you know? And sometimes people don't like the fact that you may have peace, but it's okay because you're not focused on them. You're focused on where your new rooms, where you're going, the new you. You don't need approval from people who misunderstood you. You don't need validations from systems that did not no longer serve you. You don't need to revisit rooms that God has already closed those doors. You asked him to close them, didn't you? Didn't you say, Father, open every door that is supposed to be open for me and shut every door that's supposed to be shut? When I start first going through my transition, um, fourth quarter of last year, I remember I called a gentleman named Brian, awesome man of God. And I was like, Brian, what is this? And Brian had gone through something the year before, so he was able to help me do it. And I said, well, what do I say when people ask, what are you doing? He said, you just say, I'm going to watch God work. I'm going to watch God work and tell the Lord, Lord, if I have to make this decision right now, I may make the wrong one. So will you shut every door that is not for me and every door that's supposed to be open for me? So don't revisit the rooms where he shut the door, because I was being prepared for new rooms. I see those new rooms now. You're being prepared for new rooms. You're being prepared for new rooms. And not because an old room is a bad room. It's just not the alignment that God has for you in this season. And in being the clay, you are willing to be pliable and yielded under his hand on that wheel as he is shaping you. And sometimes, I mean, he has to press it out and get some of them impurities, and maybe it's some rocks that somehow has gotten into your clay. And he got to get all of that out. And you know what? Yeah, roll with it, yield with it. If you yield with it, it takes less time. Maybe you don't have to take another lap, Moses. Maybe you don't have to spend 40 years on somewhere because you don't want to move forward. New rooms will require a new version of you, the polished version, the purified version, where the parts that were not him have been burned out, the things that couldn't go with you into the room. It could be you're in a narrow season, in a narrow way, and everything doesn't get to go into this new room with you. Whether that means you leave it in a room over here to the side, or you leave it in the past, or you set it somewhere, or it's cut off forever and nothing happens. And so when you in the new room, it's going to require this version of you. And this version is one that moves with purpose, not panic. If you watch the news and it's like, oh, they blowing up this and doing that, you still move with purpose, not panic. All right. Just because something blindsides you or surprises you doesn't mean it surprises the one who made you. So if you are a faith-based worker or a faith-based entrepreneur and you are being the clay, you have to trust that who isn't blindsided or who doesn't get surprised by the carryings on is the Most High. You want to be in this new room, you have to be a person who discerns rather than reacts, you know. You have to discern rather than react. Maybe somebody trying to press you for an answer. If the answer is I don't know, say I don't know. That's it. Man is ensnared by the words of his mouth. You start trying to explain something you don't know anything about, and now you have spoken and created some things that didn't need to be spoken or created. And in these new rooms, initially, it'll be one that you're going to listen in more than you're going to explain. It's not about proving anything. This is about positioning. And in this case, when I was able to turn and do the things, I didn't fight for the position in these new places. Now I may have to as I go and as I grow, if that's the warfare that's going to happen, or if that's the strategy that is given. But right now I've just been pulled up, plucked up out of the miry clay, or out of the pool of Bethesda. I don't know, but moved into positioning because that's what he can do. That's what he can do. As he reshapes you and reforms you, he decides where you're going to go. And so I just wanted to share some of those things because you do want to be aligned. You do want to be aligned. I want you to not have to always overextend yourself. And sometimes where we are comfortable with, even if we're unhappy with the thing that we've gotten comfortable with. Let me say that again. Often we are somewhere and we don't want to move, and we are unhappy with what we've gotten comfortable with because maybe it is the land outside of the wilderness and it's better than Egypt. And so we're just going to stay here because it's better than Egypt, but it doesn't mean it's better than the promise. And so if you have experienced some of these things in 2025, guys, I'm sorry, but I'm not sorry. My prayer is that you will yield and recognize as you're closing this season out, or you may be in the middle of the season, know that your new rooms are coming. Your new rooms are coming. The latter is greater. And just because you are moving from something, regret is a trick of the enemy. People who live in the past and be like, oh, they live in their glory days from high school football or something. They're not living in the past. They're living in regret. And regret steals your future. It's like the predator in those movies where he's translucent and you can't see him unless he moves a certain way and then you see the skin do that. That's what regret is. You don't even know you're looking through a lens of regret, but it is stealing your time. It is stealing your energy, your creativity. It is stealing your love. It is stealing your hope and your faith because you want something that's past. You want to go back. No, your goodness is in the future. Your promises move forward. There's a reason why there's no armor for the back. Now, I know I've said a lot of like scriptures and things like that, But I just want you to know in this grace for more, it is giving you space for more. So partner with God, guys. If you've gone through something, lost whatever it is, partner with God and partner with him so that you can create space, you know? And think about like what's possible if you quit fighting this shaping. If you quit fighting the shaping and just let him shape you. Let him shape you for the new season. Be the clay. Be the clay. And if it's something you're supposed to release, release it. Release it. Release it, release it. I think that's all I have. Those things, rebirth, new rooms. Um, for me, it's ending with alignment. I'm not fully aligned yet, but I'm aligned with the Most High, and I see these other alignments that He is putting in place, and I'm like, okay. And it's gonna be work. You know what I'm saying? You still got to work and till and do different things, but you're able to work from a place of rest. And it's amazing when you know that you're aligned with what God has called you to do. It kind of makes it easier. It's not saying you don't have to work hard and you won't get tired and things like that, but it does make it easier. So I pray for you to be ready and not rushed. I pray for you to be open, even if you're still healing. And I hope that you know just because you're waiting and you're in the interim and you're in the transition doesn't mean something is not happening. That's all I have on that as we close 2025. I do want to ask you, where is God inviting you to create margin for grace? You know, where is He inviting you to create margin for grace, to let something go? What are you being asked to release? Not because it's bad, but because it's done, because it's complete. I worked at a place once and it was like, it's time for you to quit. Nothing was wrong. And the manager was like, why are you quitting? Nothing's wrong. And I was like, I feel like the Lord is telling me my time is up here. And that manager, he didn't understand that at all because I was a decent employee. I was like, my time is up. And I needed money for a mission trip. I needed money for a washer and dryer. I'm like, you finna quit your job? You don't even have another job lined up. But I really felt like the Lord was like, your time is up here. And I did quit. I quit. I covered all my shifts. I talked with the manager. I quit and I did it in order. You know, I partnered with him, make sure he wasn't left hanging in any way, shape, or form. But my time was up. And I was thinking about all the things I needed. I needed thousands of dollars. And the job I was at that time wasn't bringing in no thousands of dollars, but that's what I needed. And you know what happened? Within a month, I had a washer and dryer. Somebody else gave me money, not once, but twice for the mission trip. And I realized before I got to washer and dryer and before the money came to me for the mission trip, even though nothing was wrong, I knew that if I stayed past the time that I was supposed to stay, things were going to start going wrong. Often we wait for stuff to go wrong before we move. I only pray that the way I left that job, because I heard clearly, I would love to be able to operate with that type of obedience and alignment in my life on this side. And so I really hope that that can happen for me again, that I am obedient and yielded enough to that. Sometimes when you begin to get more like houses, bills, and stuff like that, you forget. You forget. You know, when you ain't got a lot, it seems to be easier to move. But then when you begin to get what you decide is more, like the same person can't give it to you again. Anyway, I digress. Let me go on because it's almost time for me to end this. And so please make space. More is coming. And I want to thank you guys for walking this year out with me. Those of you who've been with me for a few years through Knowledge and Nonsense, through UCDI, and now you are part of the ecosystem, this whole ecosystem that is set up for transformation and to leave that ripple effect, to echo and reverberate. Thank y'all for rocking with me on that. Thank you, even those of you who've been through my programs who encourage me, especially at the top of the year, like, hey, you got this, and just checking on me. So I really appreciate that. Thank you for choosing to become instead of choosing to be bitter. For those of you who are going through change, make room for grace. Step into what's next. Be steady, whole, and unafraid. It's all right. You will come through this. If this stirs something in you, I want you to know awareness is holy, but intention is necessary. So if this is stirring something in you and now you have that awareness, please check out Think on Purpose, or check out the Think on Purpose combo, which comes with the workbook that can really help you be intentional and deliberate in your thought life and to operate with more intentionality in your life. As you step back, remember, becoming doesn't require applause. It doesn't require audience. Stay on the wheel. It requires presence, yieldedness, obedience, and like a yes. So work on what you're working toward, and work toward what you're, where you're going. Work in that direction every day. Do something daily. Work on what you're working toward. Uh, what I'll do now is I'm going to say a prayer. And yeah, you guys can still hear me. So let's pray a little bit. Now, we don't pray on all the podcasts, but we're going to pray on this one today as we're coming to the end of this year. Lord, as we come to the end of this year, I pray that you would help us to pause, not to be so focused on New Year's and New Year's Eve, but to be present today, tomorrow, the next day, to pause, not because everything is finished, but because something in us has changed, and recognize that you are creating the change in us. Thank you for grace that held me and is holding others and still holding me when the answers don't come as quick as we want. Thank you for the strength to give us what we didn't know we needed when we were being strengthened. Thank you for that. Thank you for letting adversity be our coach and helping us to develop professional muscles, spiritual muscles, mental muscles, emotional muscles. Thank you for training us, Lord, for battle and for war, whether that's professionally and in our cognition to have understanding. Thank you for preparing us, Lord, even for racing with horsemen, so footmen can't just wear us out. Thank you for pruning us, for healing the hurt. Thank you for the silence that actually refined us when we wanted to fill it up with noise and wanted to hear what people say and tell their story and just rehash things. Thank you for saying, no, 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 no. Shh, daughter. Shh. Listen to me. Walk with me. And thank you for the spaces where we learned that we didn't need permission to grow. Thank you for moving us out of places that we may have been contorting to fit in, making our wings. If you're an eagle, and Father, I'm going to let that with you. So, Lord, for every listener who ended this year carrying hope and is leaving it carrying with hope and a little more wisdom, for those who lost something, lost themselves, or even a version of themselves, I pray that you would remind them nothing surrendered in you or to you is ever wasted. Where there has been disappointment, give peace. Where there has been confusion, Father, give clarity. Where there has been waiting, give assurance. And when there has been like this fear about what's next, please give trust and replace that fear with quiet confidence. Again, not the kind that has to boast or try to make somebody believe something, but a confidence that says, I already know who is leading the way. Teach us how to move forward without rushing, how to hope without demanding, and how to trust without holding our breath. As I step into what's ahead, as they step into what's ahead and what's next, help us all make margin for grace and space for growth and room, Lord Jesus, room for more of you. It's a narrow season, and you're letting us know what to let go of, and we release this year with gratitude, and we step into the next year with open hands, knowing we're not behind, we're not overlooked, and we're not forgotten. And that's it, guys. In Jesus' name I pray. For those of you ready to move from awareness to intention, again, please explore Think on Purpose. My name is Sharon Combs, and I'm glad that you all stayed with me this hour. I hope that you have a great next few days and that your 2026 is on point to be one of the better years of your life. Be present, have margin, and recognize that everything God has placed in you is for a reason. You do have authority. You do have wisdom, and you do have permission to grow and to be yielded to the Most High God. Y'all be easy. God bless. Be kind to somebody. Be nice to somebody, not for wealth or fame, but because it is a good thing to do.
You have to work with other people, and sometimes you don't want to. Sometimes they are in your face. God, I'm talking to myself too. But you still have to work with that person, so you have to lean over the shoulder and see what the result is that you want. You have to be the adult, and you have to let it go, because I can't run a race carrying your bags, my bags, and everybody else's bags.
I'm Dr. Kathy Martin, and I am living proof that LaSharon Combs, Coach Shay, and UCDI leadership processes and strategic avenues work.